Let me just make the point. It's called the March for Humanity or whatever. Let me tell you, unless you are holding up banners for this man, Evyatar David, a video was released. I'm about to show you the video. It's very distressing content, so if you don't want to look, turn away. But this footage was released by Hamas. That's the first thing to say. But the family of Evyatar David, who there is saying he is in one of the tunnels, he's a hostage and he's digging his own grave. And this was released by Hamas, but the family, more importantly, of Evyatar David want this video to be seen to show the horror of what this young man has been forced to endure since October 7th in 2023. This is horrific. This is who you are supporting if you march on the bridge today. You are supporting the people who do this. Hang your heads in shame. Absolutely disgusting. You hypocrites who say you are doing this for humanity. Where's the humanity for that man, Evyatar David? Where is your humanity, you disgusting grubs? Every person on that bridge should hang their head in shame. And let me tell you, if you're a politician and you're doing that and you're walking out there, don't ever, ever, ever expect a vote from any sensible Australian ever again, in my opinion. And you know who you are. Hang your head in shame.
I would have a lot more sympathy for these people because I think they're not all Hamas supporters, Rowan. There are people there who are just very much
simpletons, like I said.
Well, you could call them
if we've got to this point after 2 years and you still don't get it, you're a simpleton.
Okay, yes, they're allowing themselves to be useful idiots, but that criticism would, from us included, probably wouldn't be there if there was just a little bit of consistency. If whilst you're marching for humanity, for peace, you're also holding up some banners about the atrocities that occurred on October 7, for the children that were murdered, for that poor young man who's being tortured slowly, and you know the psychological warfare there of having him dig his own grave, not just the physical torment they're inflicting on him. So if you just have some banners disavowing Hamas, a terrorist group, saying something about the victims across the board, I think a lot more Australians would be sympathetic. But it's the fact that we've seen throughout the last 2 years, these protests, they are not acknowledging that. In fact, if someone turns up with an anti-Hamas banner, they get attacked.
Well,
James.
Here's the thing, you know, it's all very well and good to say that, you know, not everybody on this bridge is going to be pro-Hamas. And I'm sure in their hearts, many of them believe that they're not pro-Hamas. But the fact of the matter is that the whole push that is being seen right now, not just from these protesters, but from politicians around the world, including Emmanuel Macron, the Canadian leader, Keir Starmer in Britain, for recognizing a Palestinian state. And let's keep in mind here that Albanese and Jim Chalmers have said, you know, it's not a matter of when, if, but rather when Australia goes down this road. All of this, while this conflict, as tragic and horrible as it is, goes on, is only serving Hamas's ends. And we have seen this now because what? Because, Rowan, what has happened now, Hamas has said, we've got the upper hand in this now. We've got the moral high ground. Somehow, think about this. Hamas believes that after all of the rape and murder and horrificness of October 7th and everything else that they had done before then and after then, that somehow they have the moral high ground. And because they're being given it by these Western leaders, and now they're saying, we are not going to stop. We're not going to stop until we have a Palestinian state, but not just any Palestinian state, a Palestinian state with its capital in Jerusalem.
That's the news.
Which is, to me, what that says, that doesn't include, that's not a two-state solution. No, that's not a Jewish state there. That is just a Hamas-run terrorist state with Jerusalem as their capital.
This is
what the West is giving them.
Yeah, let me just spell it out. Sorry, Rita. The UK Telegraph have reported that Hamas have now come out just in the last few hours and said that they will not stop now. They will not lay down their weapons or do anything. They will not stop until they have Jerusalem as the capital of a Palestinian state that occupies all of the current area of Israel. So that is what you have done, Anthony Albanese, Penny Wong, Jim Chalmers, Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron, Mark Carney. You have done this, and every single person marching on the bridge today is doing this. You're encouraging the perpetrators perpetration of this horror, show. You are doing it. You're the ones responsible, and you should be so ashamed of yourself. Hamas have now, as James said, got the moral high ground because of you marchers on the bridge. Great work. Wow, you're really clever. Sorry, James, carry on.
Well, no, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, Rowan.
Thank you, James.
Well, the whole notion of a two-state solution is fanciful. It's just not feasible. It doesn't matter if post-Hamas what happens. If that population there votes for another Hamas 2.0 that wants to eradicate Israel, wants to get rid of the Jewish community, then you're not going to be able to have a two-state solution. You can't have a two-state solution when one side wants to destroy the other side. So we've got to start being realistic when we talk about these things, because it's all very good and well to say that's the ideal, that's what we're aiming for. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But really, how is it feasible? Let's look at the reality of what's happening in that region at the moment.
Well, it is interesting, though, if you look at this.
You mentioned the European leaders, from Starmer to Macron and others, who are giving comfort to Hamas. I think the bigger issue, for Israel is what's happening in the US, because the change in public opinion in the US is stark, it's dramatic. We're talking about 60% plus swings in some categories of people whose sympathies have shifted in recent years. And that is very significant, and you can't ignore that. You can't say, well, they're wrong. This is public opinion, and it's powerful, and it definitely is something that politicians are going to be looking at. So going forward, that's something that also has to be taken into consideration. I think so many Australians are just sick of foreign conflicts, foreign hatreds being imported here and shoved in our faces. That's another issue that you've got to be honest about. So many Australians just have their own issues. They've got a cost of living crisis. We've got all sorts of societal issues here. Do we really need to be importing foreign hatred?
No, but I'll pick you up on that. Sorry, you go, James.
I was going to say one other thing, though. You talk about support in the United States slipping away from Israel. One of the other interesting things that we've had this week is that support for Hamas in the Arab world has also been absolutely melting away. And in fact, this week, this here is going to be the real key to peace. And this is, let's not take our eyes off the prize here, which is the whole realignment of the Middle East, that the Abraham Accords diplomacy that Trump started in his first term and that is continuing in this term is continuing with. Hamas has no support in the Arab world anymore. Iran is now all but neutered. And so where does Hamas have its support? In Western capitals and universities.